Newsfeed Now. Coronavirus facts, not fear, begins now.
Good Monday. Welcome into Newsfeed Now. I am Aaron Nolan. Let's jump straight into the numbers. As we had a weekend, there were over 965,000 cases, really coming close to 1 million cases. 55,000 deaths. New York State alone, 288,000 cases. A second Navy warship has been hit by an outbreak. A sailor was taken off the destroyer USS Kidd. Since then, other sailors on board have tested positive, and the Navy is expected to have more cases. There's a crew of 330 on board. The Kidd was on patrol for narcotic smugglers in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific. It will be returning to port for a good cleaning before heading back out. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is promising that the next coronavirus relief legislation will help state and local governments. It comes as select businesses in a few states were allowed to reopen Friday, with more businesses set to follow suit. Here's Reed Binion.
We will have state and local, and we will have it in a very significant way.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi reiterating that Democratic lawmakers will include help for states and cities in the next COVID-19 relief bill. Those governments facing revenue shortfalls due to businesses shuttered amid the pandemic. Some of those businesses allowed to reopen Friday in states including Oklahoma, Alaska, Michigan, and Georgia.
Well, we've been indoors for over a month, and it was just kind of nice to come out and with my husband and have like a date night, so to speak. In
Southern California, a heat wave drove large crowds to the beach.
Do your best to stay away from people, but you're always going to be too close to them, I guess. I mean, I don't know. They say 6 feet. Maybe people are 6 feet. I don't know. It's here and there.
The size of those crowds prompting officials in Newport Beach to weigh temporary weekend closures. More businesses in Georgia, like theaters and dine-in restaurants, will be allowed to reopen Monday. States including Colorado, Montana, Tennessee, Minnesota, and Iowa will also relax some business restrictions this week. I'm Reed Binion reporting.
Reed, thanks. Turning to Tennessee, restaurants are opening up. But as they open doors, they're also making big changes. Stacey Olmus spoke to restaurant owners who are pulling out all the stops to keep customers and their dining rooms safe.
Preparations are underway at Wagon Wheel Cotterell's Family Restaurant.
Everything's 6 feet apart.
Measuring every inch, separating condiments, and cleaning.
We're going to be cleaning everything so that even if they go to the restroom, all that's going to be bleached down.
Counting down the minutes till Monday morning, when the majority of restaurants across Tennessee can reopen to customers.
We'll be here to serve everybody, so I'm not sure what to expect.
It's been a difficult 2 months, with clientele primarily elderly veterans. Sales began to decline in early March.
When the governor made the decree that we would shut the 22nd, I had to lay off everybody.
Owner Cheryl Cotterell says there were days they had their doubts.
There was many of those days in the beginning. I didn't think we were going to make it. I didn't think we would, be able to pay any of the bills coming in.
One of the last restaurants to get a PPP loan, they say they've made it to this day by the grace of God.
Workers here, we're going to have our gloves on and we're going to have our masks. There won't be anything on the tables. They'll have to ask us for anything throwaway.
Choosing to seat only 4 to a table and adding a few new menu items, this is their new normal.
We're going to love them, but just from a distance. Whereas we would normally give them a big hug, we are not going to do that right now. So we want them to feel safe here and to continue coming back day after day.
Reporting in Clarksville, Stacey Olmus, News 2.
Thank you so much. I want to show you some video right now from this morning as people in Tennessee are now being seated in a restaurant. This is new. Guys, this is 6 weeks in the making. Now let's go live to Nashville, Tennessee. Josh Breslow joins us. Josh, when folks see that picture of one of your co-workers there, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hope in people that maybe we're getting back to some version of normalcy pretty soon, and maybe it started in Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, so that opened this morning. That was Puckett's, which is a pretty popular restaurant over in Williamson County, so just south of Nashville. They opened up 7 o'clock this morning, and you saw in that video there, people were already waiting. They wanted to get inside and get seated and get their first dine-in meal that they've had in a while. Yeah, there were some issues that you probably saw in that video. Obviously, the people are wearing gloves that are working, but you may have seen one person touched one of the customers and then just kept on going. So, yeah, this is kind of a situation that's going to be developing here, and we're going to see things maybe start getting back to normal here over the next few weeks.
So, What are the parameters that need to be put in place right now, and what is being done in Tennessee as folks now are going to come and sit down in restaurants for the first time in more than 30 days?
So one of the rules that's set forth by the governor is that they have to be 50% occupancy or less. So you have to have like one table basically between customers. You can't fill up every table there. Now, as far as wearing gloves, that's recommended, but the governor has said he's not going to force people to do certain things. He's just hoping that they will do the right thing and practice good hygiene.
Is this on a city-by-city basis, Josh, or is this something that the governor has said, let's do it, we're going to do it now? My question is because Memphis is such a hard-hit area.
Yeah, so it's actually based, for the most part, on the state, but counties like Nashville and Memphis, Shelby County, are going to be making their own rules, so that will happen in the future. This is for 89 of 95 counties.
All right, so the county of Nashville that is in Nashville not open yet, is that correct?
Correct, and they're not saying when they're going to open, they're just saying they need 14 days of downward trends in the number of cases that we've had, and that's when they're going to reopen restaurants and retail stores here in Nashville. But that hasn't happened yet, and they're not sure when it's going to happen.
And yesterday, the weekend was not a good weekend as far as COVID cases in Tennessee.
No, we saw the greatest single-day increase in quite a while, about 6,000 tests performed, and we had quite a few positive cases. So it's kind of, we're seeing these increases that just keep happening. So not the best weekend as far as the numbers go.
Josh, thanks so much. But again, interesting stuff as you saw businesses opening up, restaurants able to sit down, people to eat in their restaurant once again in parts of Tennessee. Let's go to Georgia. Restaurants can reopen there, but could it cause businesses across state lines, mainly Alabama, to be hurt? Here's Rashid Hudson.
Some Alabamians are used to traveling to Georgia to play the lottery. Well, now during the coronavirus emergency, state health officials are concerned that Alabamians could go there this weekend for non-essential services. Our neighbors to the east have opened up non-essential businesses like barbershops, nail salons, and gyms. And here's a warning for Alabamians that may travel to Georgia for these services.
That 6-foot distance should be maintained, and that respiratory hygiene measures such as covering the cough, washing the hands, staying at home if you're sick. If you're sick, don't go to Georgia.
Dr. Karen Landers with Public Health says it's difficult to maintain social distancing with close contact services.
I do think it's important to consider strongly the use of the cloth face covering in these instances.
Meanwhile, it's been 1 week since the lieutenant governor released recommendations on how to reopen Alabama in a safe way.
We think that some of these retail stores should have never been shut down. So, I'm hoping that the governor will open these businesses sooner rather than later.
Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth tweeted out that other states are interested in Alabama's plan.
Is it a perfect plan? Of course not. Is it a plan that takes common sense and everything we've learned about the disease and try to put in practical, application of the business to where they'll minimize the spread of the disease? That's what it was. That was the goal of our plan.
All right, Rashad joins us now from Birmingham, Alabama. Rashad, obviously things are going to start reopening very soon, but an interesting story there as you're looking at businesses open in one state, not another state. Does that mean some traffic for businesses is going to start going elsewhere?
Well, that's one of the concerns from our public health department. They're saying that, many Alabamians, so for instance, Alabamians are used to going over to Georgia to play the lottery, some Alabamians, that is. Alabama doesn't have a lottery, but the concern is Alabama may be going over to Georgia to get haircuts, go to the nail salons, or even shop. So they're saying they can't police you from going, but if you do go, they're saying, social distancing, wear a mask, just take those necessary safety precautions.
That's an interesting dynamic there. As I need a haircut. I mean, it's out of control right now. People taking advantage of that. Does that mean that maybe in Alabama the thought is this should be a decision made on a complete United States idea, so it's more of a federal decision than a state-by-state decision?
We haven't really heard that from our governor. She said she's taking more of a measured approach. She's not giving in to any pressure. Twice last week we had protesters show up at the Capitol demanding that the state reopen. They had signs, drive-by protests, people honking their horns, saying Alabama needs to open right now. And in fact, our lieutenant governor is actually pushing for the state to reopen. He sent over recommendations to the governor saying that the state can open, and here are some safety measures that the state can do if they were to open.
Before you go, how are the numbers right now in Alabama, Rashad?
We're just over, I think, 6,000 cases. Testing is still relatively low. Our public health director said that he wants to see testing at a much higher rate. We still haven't even tested. I think we're at 1% of our population that's been tested here in Alabama.
All right, Rashad, thanks so much. Appreciate you taking the time. Let's go to Chicago. Police have been busting up large parties. There's a video that went viral as people are in a party bumping into each other. As you can imagine, that's not social distancing. This on a day when officials announced more than 44,000 cases in the state. Here's Megan Dwyer.
Can't nobody else fit. This video was streamed live on Facebook Saturday just before midnight, and it's been viewed more than 2 million times. We've blurred faces, but you may be able to tell hardly anyone in this young crowd is wearing a mask. No one is practicing social distancing as these partygoers pack into this home on top of each other. Sources tell WGN this party took place on Chicago's west side. This party in clear violation of Governor Pritzker's stay-at-home order, which also prohibits large gatherings.
You're literally putting everyone around you in danger. You are. They are putting you in danger, and very importantly, all of those people are putting their families and their friends who are not there with them in danger.
When this order was first put in place over a month ago, Chicago police worked to break up large house parties like this. The department says they are aware of this video allegedly shot in a Chicago residence. They said in a statement, while we cannot authenticate the nature or location of the gathering, CPD will disperse crowds in violation of social distancing requirements and, if necessary, issue citations or, as a last resort, enforce via arrest.
If you're putting the community in danger, as a party like that does, that should be broken up.
Mayor Lightfoot also saw the video and called it utterly unacceptable on Twitter. She went on to say reckless actions like these threaten our public health and risk erasing the progress we have made. We will hold those responsible accountable.
Utterly disrespectful. Interesting stuff there from Megan. Let's go to Courtney now live from Chicago. Courtney, thanks for joining us. Obviously, parties don't fit into the president, your governor, your mayor's idea of social distancing. How do you get around avoiding these parties?
You know, that is a good question. Really, I think it's probably more about education at this point. And as you probably saw from the story, that was a young crowd there, and they looked, some of them appeared to be underage. And so it's a matter of educating that group, that crowd, and hopefully getting them, you know, back into quarantine situations. But we did have Chicago police breaking up parties like that more than a month ago.
I mean, so more than a month ago, and then we see this video that went viral. Is this something that continues to happen, or is it something that you just hear every now and again?
We haven't heard a lot of these cases. We know that about a month ago when the stay-at-home order was first put into place, that's when we saw Chicago police going to various homes and breaking up these parties. People weren't getting it. And then the mayor, you know, our mayor has been cracking down, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and so a lot of people are taking that very lightly. You know, she's been joking about it, but she means business, and I think a lot of people are trying to follow her guidance and stay at home. So we should see. It doesn't appear to be a problem that's getting out of hand just yet, but we know as the weather starts to get warm, that may become more of an issue.
Well, you mentioned it right there, and it's something that I'm feeling. I got 2 little kids at home. We're doing anything possible to not live that same life, that Groundhog Day every day over and over and over again. And, you know, young people, I've got some friends down the street. She told me the teenagers could go a little cabin fever, could go a little stir crazy. And maybe that's what we're seeing. Courtney, before you go, though, I do want to talk about numbers there in Illinois. How are things looking? Do we see any leveling off? Do we see the downward trend at all?
Actually, we are not seeing a downward trend. We're kind of not necessarily going up. What's happening in the state of Illinois is we're doing more testing now.
Yeah.
The governor's goal was to test 10,000 people, and so every day we're seeing more sites open up where we're getting more people tested. So right now, just in the last 24 hours, we learned about 2,100 new cases of coronavirus in the state of Illinois. We are up to almost 43,000 cases. So we have not yet reached our peak, and they expect that to happen in another week or two, actually.
Have they put a guideline in place? As we were just talking to folks out of Tennessee, where that governor is starting to open up restaurants. Has Illinois put a guideline in place on when normalcy could return, whether that's in restaurants, hair salons, gyms, working out?
Well, actually, we just heard from the governor on Friday when he extended the stay-at-home order,
Wow.
and that is now through the end of May. And he even stated that once this stay-at-home order is lifted, there will still be social distancing in place, and people, when they go out in public, will have to wear masks. And in fact, starting on the 1st, people will have to wear masks in the state of Illinois if they're out in public.
All right,
so
good stuff.
it doesn't appear we'll have normalcy, you know, once this is all over, even once we get out of quarantine and off the stay-at-home regimens.
Courtney, thanks so much. Interesting stuff. It's interesting to me as we look at what's happening in Tennessee, and not too far away in Illinois, things are completely different. A lot of changes are happening. The governor, obviously, there in Illinois saying, not yet, where the governor of Tennessee saying, let's try this. The president saying he's going to leave it up to each individual governor. Let's move on to Arkansas. People living at an Arkansas nursing home got a huge surprise. Dozens of people in the community lined up for a parade of a special kind. Here's Haley Brooks.
Today brings hope. Residents at the Crossing at Riverside Nursing Home in Searcy got a sweet afternoon treat. Bright blue and red cherries celebrating all April birthdays. Happy birthday!
What is some shindig?
This is a shindig, you're right. This resident, Margaret Parker, is celebrating 1 century of life.
This is a shock, I'll tell you. I don't know how y'all pull this off.
With each passing car, she couldn't believe it was all for her.
How'd they get all this together?
I don't know, but they did good, didn't they?
They did.
And she wasn't the only one having a good time. The courtyard was covered with people smiling under their face masks.
I just saw lots of smiles on their faces, and that's something that we really love to see around here.
Kelly Adcock, the director of community relations at the Crossing, says COVID-19 has really taken its toll on folks living here. So seeing so many smiling faces as balloons and families drove past is something these folks will remember while going through these tough times.
We're doing our best. We're doing FaceTime, window time, card writing, all kinds of things to keep them involved and active so that they don't miss their families as much.
Of course,
hi.
They still can't wait to see their family.
Wish you were here.
Even if it is through a fence.
Hi, happy birthday!
In Searcy, I'm Haley Brooks.
There in Central Arkansas, Haley now joins us. Haley, obviously, we do a lot of stories nowadays on things that don't make sense. For me, this one just made sense.
Okay, I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's one of those situations where we need to do whatever we can to remember those cherished individuals, whether they're in a nursing home, assisted living, maybe still at home. And I love seeing that 100-year-old woman just sitting there in all her beauty, just saying, I wish you were here, but I'm going to enjoy this. I like it. What was that feeling like for you?
It was awesome because, you know, it has been such a long time since they can actually interact with people, and obviously we both wore masks and we were 6 feet apart, but it was still cool to just be able to talk with her and hear her secret to a long life, which was to go to bed early and stay out of trouble. But it was really cool to see her enjoying, you know, seeing her family and everyone in the community coming out to celebrate her birthday.
How is that nursing home doing as we see that obviously that generation kind of the most volatile when it comes to COVID?
They said that they are doing great. They haven't had any issues, and they're just trying to keep their residents busy. They're doing a lot of FaceTime, a lot of window time, so like the family will stand outside the window and trying to just keep them connected. But yeah, they're doing good.
For Miss Margaret there, you see her on your screen. Did she say that this is unlike anything she's ever seen in her 100 years of life?
All she kept saying during the entire parade was, this is quite a shindig. How did they pull this off? So she was shocked. She just kept saying, I didn't know anyone knew I was turning 100. So yeah, she was pretty excited about it.
Well, Miss Margaret, we all need to know that. What about, did she say anything about the new norm, if you will, social distancing and how it's affecting life, and if she's ever done anything like that over 10 decades of life?
No, she was confused kind of by wearing the mask. She thinks she's just ready to get back to normal life and to just see her family. She just misses her family and her grandkids.
All right, Haley, thanks so much. Appreciate you taking the time here on Newsfeed Now. That'll do it for us. We'll see you right back here, 10:30 Central.